a piece of white paper. You can use, once again, your construction paper or your watercolor paper. Watercolor is a little thicker, so it holds up a little better to the watercolors that we'll be using, but construction paper is fine too. You just have to be careful that you don't get it too wet so it doesn't break. So we're gonna have a piece of paper. You always need a work surface, so I have my newspaper down. You will need a pencil today to draw. You might need an eraser, and then you'll need maybe a pen or a marker to outline. Once you, as you get farther along in the process, you'll need your watercolors and some paintbrushes, and also some circle-shaped objects. Like here's a pot lid is a good one to make for the basis shape of the big shape of your mandala, and maybe even some smaller. Here's a smaller pot lid that we can use to make the inner circle, because mandalas are traditionally round. So we're going to start by a circle, and you can even use smaller circles inside it if you'd like. We'll talk a little bit about symmetry, radial symmetry, which is in a circle. So the idea is to try to make your whole mandala look symmetrical. So let's get started. So as you see, I mentioned earlier radial design or radial symmetry. Basically that's when you have a starting point in the middle of a circle shape, and your mandala is going to come out and your design, and it's going to be symmetrical in a circle. So you'll see some examples I'll show you. And also the examples we saw in the beginning of the presentation. So to get started, we're going to have our white piece of paper, and I'm going to use a pen so that you can see the lines better, but you probably want to use a pencil just in case you mess up so you can erase it. So I'm going to get my large shape pot lid, and I'm going to trace it and make the outside shape of my mandala. So you want to make sure you hold it still with one hand and trace around it with the other. So take your time, it's all right, you've got plenty of time, and then you lift it up and now you have a big circle. So I'm going to use a little bit of a smaller shaped lid to make another circle inside. But how you design it is up to you, but I think I'm going to make a bunch of circles and take it from there. And even as you see, I messed up just a little bit. That's okay. We're going to paint over, remember? So that's the other reason why it's always good to use a pencil first. And then, let's see, I'm going to go with one more circle inside that. And trace that. And if you want to make your center point in the middle, you're more than welcome to make a center point. Another way sometimes, if it'll help you, if you have a ruler, you can even, once you guess where the center is, do the best you can. You can fold the paper in half if you want, and you'll have a center line, but I think I'd rather just eyeball it. And so you can draw a line from the center of just so that you have 4 different squares, so maybe that will help you to make your drawings symmetrical. But this is optional, you don't have to do that. But if it helps you in your design, and you could always erase it later. And I made my center point a little bit off, and that actually is a really good way to make your center point. So now that I have my center point, I'm going to redo it. I'm going to make it here. And at this point you can draw with your pencil, or you can keep tracing objects to make circles. So let's see, maybe I'll do a few more objects. I forgot to say, as you're painting and you're designing your mandala, you want to think about the blessing or the wish or the thing that you were grateful for and channel that into your mandala. So as you're designing your mandala, you can think about maybe if you want to put in some symbols that represent to you your wish, like if you wanted to have hearts because you wanted it to be about love, or something that to you helps you to think about your wish. It's important that you want to think about it as you're creating your mandala, because that's part of the idea. It's supposed to be meditative practice, and so yeah, don't forget. So I've got my cup of water and my brushes, and I'm going to start painting my mandala. It's always good to have a few different shapes of brushes and do the bigger brushes for the big spaces and the smaller brushes for the smaller detail. So I'm going to dip it in my water, and I'll put my watercolor over here. All right. And also, if you start with the lighter colors, that's always a pro tip, so that way you can go back over it with your darker colors. And I let it dry, and then I can add in more details if I'd like with my marker or my pen. A pen is good for small details, and it's okay if a little bit of it bleeds because it is watercolor, so that happens a lot. You can always work with that and layer on top. You see how the red bled a little onto the blue? Maybe I'm going to go back in and add in some more, just do it on purpose. Sometimes the mistakes turn out to be really cool. And I challenge you to, when you're finished with your mandala, you can do a background too if you want, or you can cut it out if you don't want to do a background and just cut it out, just the circle shape. And I challenge you to share it with someone when you finish and take a picture. So you can email it or maybe send it in a message to a friend or a family member, someone that you care about, and share your wish or your blessing with them or what you're grateful for. I can't wait to see your mandalas. Have fun, of course.